Sangye, Chedan, Zoye, Chonam, La, Janjo, Pado, Dani, Capso, Daye, Jinsuangye, Ben, Sanam, Ge, Dola, Benje, Sangye, Dubara, Jo, Sangye, Chedan, Zoye, Chonam, Janjo, Pado, Dani, Capso, Daye, Jinsuangye, Ben, Sanam, Ge, Dola, Benje, Jubarajo Sange Japan Zage Janam Lan Janjo Bado Dane Kelso Je Daye Jeso Yeben Sana Jala Benje Sange Jobarajo Zai Shinbe Joy. Okay, mandala, okay? Zai Shinbe Joji do Dhamai ji Rabai le Ninde Oenke Boinde Stange Jinto Minde Oenke Trôi quyên mãi đói xin lo chứ bỏ ra rồi đa mong của rồi mình ra là cầm ni yan da yan mi. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Cảm ơn ạ.
yeah. The voice and the audio, video, everything clear?
Yeah,
Okay,
everything
right?
is good.
Okay. Okay, sure. Okay. So this new year we start a new new Dharma text, and as you already know, this text is known as a letter to a friend, uh, and it's written by Master Nagarjuna. So before we start the actual class, we will talk a little bit about the author of this book, Master Nagarjuna, and then his story, background, the importance of the book, and why we choose this book, etc. So we will discuss that first, and we will maybe go 1, 2, maybe 3 verses today. Yeah. Originally, I thought of going for maybe 11, 10 verses today, but then I thought proper introduction of Nagarjuna is essential, so that we know what we are talking about, who is this person that wrote this, etc., etc. Yeah. So according to the history, like Buddhist annals, Buddhist Dharma history, it is said that Nagarjuna was born 600 years after the Buddha's passing.
Yeah.
So 600. So that would usually put him around 150 something AD. 150 AD. 150 AD. 100. So first century, basically first to second century. That's when he lived. So according to some legends, it is they said that he lived for 400 years, 900 years, so things like that. Okay, so these are just legends. But in any case, the important thing is that he was born. The importance of why he was born after 600 years is that his birth was prophesied by the Buddha himself. The Buddha himself declared that such a person will come and illuminate the Dharma into this world. So, okay, so now we go straight. So he was born in South India to a prosperous, very rich, wealthy Brahmin family. So Brahmins are in the Hindu system, in the Indian sort of culture, in the Hindu system, in the Hindu culture, the Brahmins are priests, and they are the highest class. So there are primary, there are 4 classes, and out of the 4, the Brahmins are the highest class. So he was born in a very high class, the highest class, and a wealthy family. So usually it's the Brahmin, the priest class of the priest, then the warrior caste, and then the merchant, tradespeople, businessmen, and then there is the lower class. And then below the lower class, there is the untouchable, like even below that. So there are four classes, and then the classless people. So this is just the primary classes. But if you go deeper, there is about 40,000 subcastes within the Indian sort of caste system. Yeah, about 40. I'm just making it simple. I think 40 to 60,000 subcaste. So he was born to a very wealthy Brahmin family. So Brahmin are not necessarily always wealthy, but his was a very wealthy Brahmin. Anyway, the point was when after he was born, it is customary in the Indian tradition to bring a soothsayer, a fortune teller. So the fortune teller checked the boy's future and said that the boy will live for 7 months if you feed all the local population, or basically all the poor people in the town, in the city, and if you feed about 500 bhikshus, monks, then the boy will live up to 7 years. And that is the extent of it. So he will live no longer than that. So the parents, in order to sustain the life of the boy, the parents actually offered meal both to the locality as well as to 500 monks. And then the boy lived up to 7 years.
Yeah.
So when the boy is 6 years and 11 months old, so basically 1 month before he become 7 years old, the parents could not see their boy die. So what they did was they selected some of the staff, the servants, and then some other companions, and sent the boy off to some holy places for pilgrimage. And then so the boy can die in some very holy sacred place. So they sent the boy off to a holy place. So because they cannot see the boy die. Then the boy went up north. So he was born in south, remember? So he went up north to the place where Nalanda University is today. And when he was around that area, Nalanda Monastery area, northern India, there he passed by the place of one Brahmin. And the Brahmin's name is Brahmin Saraha. So he passed by that Brahmin's place, and on the way also the boy had a vision of Avalokiteshvara, and then when he passed by the Brahmin's hut, the boy because he was able to see generously Avalokiteshvara in his vision. He was, even though he's a small boy, he was uttering some profound mantras and verses like praise to the Avalokiteshvara. And when Saraha heard about that, he questioned what this is about. And the attendants, the servants of the boy, told them the whole story of the boy. And then after learning about the boy's fate, Saraha said that if the boy chooses to abandon the worldly life, if he becomes a monk, then he has some chance. And then the boy agreed to. Actually, boy has no attachment to the worldly life, and the boy chose to become a monk. And Saraha gave him the empowerment, long life empowerment of the Amitayus Buddha. So he was initiated into the mandala of the Amitayus Buddha and everything, and thus the boy, the life of the boy, become infinite. So the day before his seventh birthday, he was asked to recite the Dharani, the mantra, the long mantra of Amitayus Buddha, Amitayus Buddha's mantra, Amarana Jivanti Soha. So he recited this for the whole night, and thus he was able to overcome death. like that. So yeah, like that. So then he became the monk. He got ordained. He got ordained as a monk at the Nalanda Monastic University, Nalanda Monastery, and then he started learning the traditional monastic studies and all these things. And then later, Saraha kept teaching him, even at such a young age. Saraha gave him many tantric empowerment and initiations like that. And so later, at the request of the monastery's abbot, after requesting his name, submitting his name, the abbot actually officiated his full ordination, and he became known as Shrimanta, the glorious one, Shrimanta. Yeah. Now he became a fully ordained monk, and he finished his studies, and he became a good student and all that. And so later he was a very bright student. Become a bright student, and then he graduated. He became a very good professionally, academically, spiritually, everything. So basically, he became a very bright young kid. And because of that, the Nalanda Monastery appointed him as the how do you call it? More like a secretary in today's understanding. He was appointed as the secretary or the treasurer of the monastery. Basically, he has to look after the funds of the monastery.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, there was a famine going on. There's a lot of also political things, and a lot of other things are going on. And then famine, and basically the food becomes scarce. The monastery was unable to acquire. Basically, the whole region the food becomes scarce, and people are suffering. And because of that, the Nalanda Monastery was also suffering. And then, so basically, it was his responsibility, his duty to get funds for the monastery in order to run the monastery. And so therefore, what Nagarjuna decided to do was he decided to study alchemy. So alchemy is the art of turning ordinary metal like iron and other things, into gold. Transforming ordinary metal into precious gold, alchemy. So he started to learn alchemy. So I've shared some picture in the group. You can check them, okay, to illustrate the story. I used AI. So Nagarjuna, Shrimanta, so he's known as Shrimanta at that time. So Shrimanta, he wanted to learn alchemy. So there's one non-Buddhist, right? We call them Tirthankas. So basically, there was one Brahmin, one non-Buddhist sadhu, or like a sage, okay, like a meditator living in an isolated island, and he lives in an island, and you cannot. He's inaccessible to the general public, but he knows how to turn metal into gold, and so. In order to meet him, you have to cross over a river, to cross over the ocean, and then to meet him in an island. So therefore, in order to meet him, you need to have special power or a powerful boat, whatever. So therefore, Shrimanta practiced and meditated, and he actualized the power of something called swift foot. Okay, swift foot. So it's a magical power where you can run as fast as cars, like in today's term, like very fast, and you can go over, like run over water, etc. So in order to learn the alchemy from the non-Buddhist master, he learned in Tibetan we call it Kangyok, which means swift foot. So he studied the light-footed mantra, light-footed magical skills. He studied that, and then he crossed over the ocean, to the island where that alchemist master was staying. He met him. So whenever you use magic, there is something called the magical object. So the magical object used for the light-footedness was a piece of leaf. So you need to put those leaf under your feet and into the slipper. And then you can run very fast like that. So when he met the master, the alchemist master, he asked to teach to turn the metal into gold, but he's unwilling to teach him because he doesn't want the secret to go away from the island. So he doesn't want the secret to go to anybody. So therefore, Nagarjuna actually blessed, put the mantra for the Lightfoot. And then he will only teach if Nagarjuna give him the art of light-footedness. If he gives him so basically he wants to share the knowledge. So what Nagarjuna did was Nagarjuna make two leaves, bless two leaves, and put one under his feet, and the other one he held in his hand, and then he gave the blessing and teach all the mantra and gave it to the alchemist. So when he got the object of light-footedness, so the alchemist was very happy that now, because the object was already with him, so Nagarjuna can no longer run away from the island and share the secret to anyone else. So he was very happy, and then he gave the art of alchemy to Nagarjuna. Only after Nagarjuna gave him the object of magic, the light-footedness magic, which is the leaf. Yeah. But as you know, the Nagarjuna has already hidden one leaf under his feet. So after he got the secret of alchemy, then he actually he used that leaf and then blessed the blessed leaf which is under his feet. So he used that to run away from the alchemist, and then he basically returned to Nalanda. And then he started alchemy in Nalanda. And then, of course, he revived the financial status of the monastery, everyone around. Basically, he blessed everybody in the region with gold. And they were able to procure food and grains and everything. And then so basically their lives will become better. So the monk Shrimanta, so he was very well received by the monks, and then he later, so after his post as a secretary, he became the discipline master. And so that way you have to check the discipline of all the monks. So in the monastery, there are many monks, because Nalanda is supposed to have like 60,000 students at one time. So there are many misbehaving monks as well. And then, so he was not only taking care of the fund, but when he was appointed as the discipline master, he took care of the monastic discipline, because those misbehaved monks were bringing infamy, bad name to the monastery, etc. So he expelled over 8,000 monks from the monastery for misbehaving, and thus he actually brought glory to the Nalanda Institute once again.
Yeah.
So as his successful stint as a treasurer, secretary, and then the discipline master, and then he was his fame, he's becoming more and more popular in the region. And later, in Nalanda, in India, there's a tradition of debate and challenging each other. So India is the center of knowledge at that time. So all the people come to learn, challenge, debate, criticize everything. So a lot of people come to criticize or challenge the ideology, this and that ideology. And then there was one, whenever they come, the Nagarjuna would debate with them, and he will win them over. So usually what happens in the Indian tradition is like when you win over, when you win the challenge, the debate, then all your students become my student. And then, your students are inducted into my monastery, etc. like that. And like that, so basically he became more and more popular. And then he was later appointed as the abbot, the chief abbot of Narendra Monastery.
Yeah.
Like the principal, yeah. So during the Buddha's time, all his public teachings, all the public teachings given by the Buddha gave were the open and the public teaching given by Buddha were always spoken in a language called Pali. So it was always spoken in the Pali language, and then all those teachings subscribed to a certain ideology. And those people who followed the followers of that ideology, in hindsight, today we call them Hinayanas. Okay, and then Buddha also gave many teachings, closed door teachings, like not to the public, not to the open, but to a very select few, like very highly intellectual people and highly fortunate beings. And those were called, in retrospect, we call them the Mahayana teachings. So these teachings, the Mahayana teachings, were heard by very few, the elite. And as you know, the majority of the people, the larger population, heard about the Pali teaching, which is spoken as the Hinayana teaching, which is spoken in Pali, and the Mahayana teachings, which were all spoken in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the language of the intellectuals, the scholars. So, larger population of the Buddha's follower do not accept the ideologies proposed in the Sanskrit tradition. And now we call them the Mahayana tradition. But that time, those ideas are all rejected. And one of the key roles that Nagarjuna played is to validate, to prove that the Sanskrit teachings of the Buddha are actual, authentic transmission of the Buddha, that they are not just made up by some scholars. So that is one of the main contribution of Nagarjuna. So as the abbot of the Nalanda monastery, he sent monks preaching the Mahayana teaching, and anyone who challenges his teaching, he would argue with them, he would debate with them, not argue as in a mindless argument, but like with logical and rationality. He would argue them out and win them over. And within the Buddhist community, those who argue that Mahayana or the Mahayana teaching, the Mahayana set of teachings are not real Buddhist teaching, not the authentic transmission of the Buddha's teaching. So he debated with them and win them over like that. And so in that way, he did a great service not only to Buddha Dharma in general, but he is therefore known as the father. So the actual term that we use is trailblazer, a pioneer. So he is regarded as the father of Mahayana tradition, of the Buddha Dharma. So of course, when Buddha gave the teaching, Buddha didn't say Mahayana teaching or Hinayana teaching like this. So of course, Hinayana, the term Hinayana and Mahayana is created later. It was not created by the Buddha. But the concept that was taught in the Mahayana Sutras were taught by the Buddha. So whatever is being taught by the Buddha to the general public, which is accepted by the Hinayanas, that is also accepted by the Mahayanas. But what is taught to the Mahayanas, because it's taught only in a closed group, only to a few intellectuals, that is when there is a contradiction between what is taught to the elite and what is taught to the commoners, then there is some there is this discord, and usually the Hinayanas argued that the Mahayana teachings were falsified. It's not real. It's not truth, like that. So basically, Nagarjuna proved every so-called Mahayana teachings. So he brought the source of this and that, the teaching of the Mahayana teaching, and then he proved them rationally that these were Buddha's actual teaching. And so therefore he did a great service to not only to the Buddha Dharma in general, but to the Mahayana tradition. And so therefore he is known as the father of Mahayana Buddhism. And because whatever is taught in the without Mahayana teachings, then Vajrayana teaching will also cease to exist, will not be there. Because all the teaching, the basis, the foundational teaching of Vajrayana is all based on Mahayana teachings. So by reviving or authenticating the Mahayana teachings, the Nagarjuna was able to lay a firm ground for the tantric Buddhism to take place as well. Of course, but he didn't teach tantra publicly, because tantra in India is always taught in secret to a certain, until a certain time. So therefore, Nagarjuna, that's what Nagarjuna is. So when he was doing all these great activities, then one time, because hearing his name, because he was become so popular not only to the human world but to the non-human world as well. So basically, two people came to meet him, to see him, and when those two people came to see him, two very youthful, good-looking people came to see him. Then, when they came to see him, there was a very fragrant smell. Very, very good smell. That fragrant smell was there. And then when they go back, nobody know where they come from and where they go back. And those two people, when they come and go, they actually visited Nagarjuna several times. And whenever that happened, people were able to sniff that fragrant smell. And later they learned that is from a very special kind of red sandalwood. And those two youth were actually Nagas, and they come to listen to Dhamma talk by Nagarjuna, by Srimanta, Acharya Srimanta.
Yeah.
So by that time, he is already known as Acharya. So Acharya means professor, more in a spiritual sense than an academic sense. So Acharya means professor, spiritual professor. So he was regarded, now he is no more called Srimanta, he is more referred to by everyone as Acharya. So then, Nagarjuna asked, what is that smell that they have, that fragrance? And then they said that it's from a special sandalwood, and that sandalwood, by anointing, by putting that sandalwood upon themselves, they actually protect themselves from the impurity of the human world. Like today and on the old time, there always is this and that kind of pandemics and this and that, and also humans are not necessarily pure, right? That's why we have to wash our teeth, wash our face, wash our everything, because naturally we are not clean. That's why we have to keep clean, right? So keep cleaning ourselves. Anyway, so the Nagas came, and the Nagas like that. So Nagarjuna asked them, "Can I get a piece of that sandalwood because that you are using?" Because he wanted to erect a statue of Tara, because Tara is for blessing. So blessing, rain, blessing of plenitude, food, everything in the land. So he wanted to offer prayers to a Tara, and then he wanted to erect a fragrant, magnificent, beautiful statue of Tara. And then he asked the two Naga youth for sandalwood. And it happens to be the case that the two youth are actually sons of the Naga king. And then they said, "We will have to ask our father for anything to bring outside of our land." And then basically they asked the father, and the father invited Nagarjuna to come to Naga land, to the land of the Nagas, to get the wood. So he will not send it to the son, but he actually have to come to the land of the Nagas, and then the father will think about it. And then Nagarjuna used his clairvoyance, and then he found out that by going to the Nagas land, there will be a lot of good fortune. And so therefore, he decided to go to the land of Nagas with the sons of the Naga king. And so he went to see the Naga king, and the Naga king asked him many questions. And of course, Nagarjuna Acharya gave responses to all the questions that he posed. And the Naga king asked questions about life, about how to, take care of his family, the kingdom, afterlife, etc. So everything he gave answer, and he was very satisfied. And then he asked Nagarjuna, why did you come, Acharya, right? So Acharya, why did you come to this land? What is the purpose of you coming to this land, to the land of the Nagas? Yeah. And he replied, I came here to collect the large volume of the Prajnaparamita Sutra. Usually in Tibetan, we call it BOOM, 100,000 volumes of the Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom scriptures. Yeah. So the Naga king and the Naga people asked Nagarjuna to not to do that. I mean, you can go take the text from our land to this world, but then please return. And Nagarjuna said, no, I have to go back, and then I have to construct many temples. And of course, Nagarjuna ended up constructing hundreds of temples later. So I have to construct temples dedicated for Tara and the Buddha in order to expand the Buddha Dharma, expound the Buddha Dharma. And I also have to bring this precious teaching of the grand volume of the Prajnaparamita Sutra. So now to give you some background, the Buddha's teaching in general are let's just call it this way. The Prajnaparamita Sutra, okay, the extent Prajnaparamita Sutra means perfection, the sutra or the book on the book on perfecting the wisdom, ultimate wisdom, okay, the book on perfecting the ultimate wisdom. So that is called Prajnaparamita Sutra. So the Prajnaparamita Sutra was taught extensively and exclusively to the elite, meaning to the most intelligent of the most intelligent students. Here, when I say elite, I mean those who have the highest intellect, meaning mostly were bodhisattvas. And majority of the public do not understand that, and so therefore, as I said earlier, do not accept these sutras as Buddha's teaching. And so therefore, you are talking 400 years, and slowly those teachings on the exclusive teachings, extensive and exclusive teaching on the perfection of wisdom sutras, the condition of these teachings deteriorated because less and less people are practicing that, following that, practicing that, and taking that as the Buddha's teaching. So therefore, in the human realm, the grand volume of the Prajnaparamita Sutra is almost extinct. You can say it's extinct, no more. So therefore, one of the main reasons Acharya Srimanta went to the land of the Nagas was to procure that text, the grand volume of the Buddha's teaching on Prajnaparamita Sutra, which is 100,000 volumes, okay? 100,000 verses. So in order to bring that to the human world, he went to the Nagas land. So normally we call we divide we categorize the Prajnaparamita Sutra into three sections, three segments: the grand volume, the middle volume, and the small volume. Okay, the grand volume has 100,000 verses. The middle one has 25,000, and the small one has 8,000 verses. So therefore, he came to bring and then of course there's shorter versions like the essence of the Prajnaparamita Sutra, which we call the Heart Sutra, right? Heart Sutra, it's very popular in all of the Mahayana following nations like Vietnam, China, Tibet, like that. And then there is even shorter than the shortest of the shortest Prajnaparamita Sutra is just one letter. It's A. And A is a negative word or a negation. It negates. It just get rid and highlights, negates everything. So therefore, by saying A, so in English it would be similar to saying nay or no. So the shortest Prajnaparamita Sutra is one letter text called Shejin Yigit Jigma in Tibetan, which means Prajnaparamita Sutra with only one word, only one letter. That is the literal name of that book. So that, and then one letter in that book is A, and it negates everything. Yeah. As I said earlier, because of the our negligence in the human world, because majority of the people have not heard of this text, so they choose to ignore it. Majority of the Buddha's follower, even the monks, the scholars, intellectually they have not reached that high level to understand the Prajnaparamita Sutra. So therefore, they choose to abandon them, right? So therefore, 100,000 verse, the grand volume of the Prajnaparamita is all lost. But the short version, which is 8,000 verse, is still in the human world. But of course, Nagarjuna went to the Nagas kingdom to bring the grand volume, to revive, as I told you earlier, he revived the Mahayana teachings. He was known as the father of Mahayana teachings. So when he decided to bring the grand volume of Prajnaparamita Sutra, and of course, eventually the Nagas have to give in, so they cannot say no to him any longer. So they give him the book, but then they took out certain chapters at the end of the 100,000 volume. So actually, in Tibetan, the Kangyur, which is the translation of the canonical works of the Buddha's actual teaching on Prajnaparamita, which is translated into Tibetan, we call it Kangyur. So the Kangyur actually has a few chapters missing at the bottom, okay? And of course, because the original works in Sanskrit in India also has few chapters missing. And because it is missing in the original work, it is also missing in the Tibetan works. So therefore, these two chapters that were missing were actually taken by the Nagas, so that when Nagarjuna Acharya go back to Nalanda, and then he finds out that few chapters are missing, then he have no choice but to come back to see the Nagas to get that thing right. That's what Nagas kind of trying to very innocently very naively trick Nagarjuna to come back to the land of Nagas. Yeah. What we did in Tibetan is, because the original, the large volume has two chapters missing, so now we abridged the two last chapters of the 8,000 verses to the 100,000 verses. So basically, the currently available Kangyur in Tibetan, the last two chapters of the small Prajnaparamita Sutra, the 8,000 verse, and the large volume, which is 100,000 verses, the last two chapters are same, because it's actually we added the last two chapters of 8,000 to the 100,000. So basically, these two chapters are the biography of two great bodhisattvas. So I don't know the name in English, but the Sanskrit name I don't remember. I don't know. but the Tibetan we call them. Basically, there are two biographies of two great bodhisattvas. One being the student of the other. So, Chengju Sempa means bodhisattva. Bodhisattva Chepa, I think Arya Dharma or something like that. So Chepa, this is the teacher, and then bodhisattva Tadungu. Tadungu means ever crying. So he is always ever weeping. So the bodhisattva ever weeping, who is the student of the bodhisattva Arya Arya Dharma, right? Sublime or noble Dharma, who is the teacher. That's one chapter, and then his student ever weeping. So these two bodhisattvas, the biography of those two bodhisattvas are the last chapters, and those are also abridged to which comes from the 8,000 verses, were also abridged to the 100,000 volume, the grand volume as well. Okay, so I can go on and on. So, but now I'll just cut it short. Okay, so basically, So Nagarjuna brought Prajnaparamita Sutra, basically the grand volume of Prajnaparamita, to this world, and so by doing so, he brought the Mahayana teachings. So of course, then he proved through the actual text of the Buddha that the ideologies that were ascribed in the Mahayana, subscribed by the Mahayana followers, were actually authenticated by the Buddha's own words. And so therefore, as I said, he did a great service to the Mahayana teaching, etc. And because of that, because he bring it from the Naga's land, so he become known as Nagarjuna. So Arjun means the one, Arjun is someone who accomplishes. Naga is the land, the snake people. So the one who accomplishes his duties, his goal, his aspiration, whatever it is, right? So the one who accomplishes through the Nagas, that's why he is called Nagarjuna.
Yeah.
Nagarjuna. So now I will go back to the very beginning, and I said the Buddha himself prophesied the coming of Nagarjuna. So this is actually authenticated by, supported by several texts. One of the main being Langa Avatara Sutra, the sutra known as Buddha going to Lanka or Sri Lanka in today's time. One sutra, Langa Avatara Sutra. Another sutra, is a Tantra, is called the root text or the root lines, the root verses of the Manjushri, root lines of the Manjushri Tantra. So especially in the root lines of Manjushri Tantra, there is a verse which actually describe the birthplace, the name, the timing, everything, and his contribution. All right, everything about Nagarjuna has been prophesied by the Buddha himself in the root lines, root verses of the Manjushri Tantra. So the one from the Manjushri text, it goes like this in Tibetan. So Ngani Nyangen Deoto means after my demise, after my passing away, right? Loni Shibja Lumbana, which means 400 years after that. So basically 400 years after my demise from this world. Two words, right? Gyalong Palde Shetapa, a bhikshu by the name of Sri Manta. Gyalong, a bhikshu by the name of Sri, will come to this world in the land of Veta. So Veta is actually short for Veda. Basically, it means palm trees, where a lot of palm trees are there in the southern part of India. So 400 years after the demise of the Tathagata, a bhikshu by the name of Sri Manta will come in the land of palm trees, and then which means he will be also referred to as, he will be regarded as the Naga, right? Lu is Naga. So he will also be known as the Naga. And then he will the Minglu Bebate, which means he will be known as Naga as well. His actual name is Shrimanta, but Bhikshu Shrimanta, but then he will be known as the Naga all over the world. And then he will do a great service to my lineage, the Buddha Dharma.
Yeah.
So very clearly prophesied by the Buddha himself. Okay. So basically, later after that, he went to many parts of India. To propagate the Buddha Dharma. Okay, then to compete in many debates, etc. Because as I said, those days, if you compete, if you enter a challenge, and if you lose, all your followers become the followers of the other sort of lineage. And then that means, so between the Buddhist and the non-Buddhist and different sects of intellectual or post school in India, there were lots of debates going on anyway. So like that. So basically, he was building a lot of, engaging in a lot of those debates, and he was giving a lot of Dharma discourses, and also he was constructing a lot of temples as well, because temples are the icon or the beacon of the Buddha Dharma. So when there is a temple, or people will come around, and then people will flock around and ask for, ask questions, and then you can do teaching, this and that. So then when he was building one particular temple, then he was, it is said that he met one old woman who was walking around, and he said, "It is nice that you are building temples, you are doing the debates, you are doing this and that, but wouldn't it be better if you just do some Dharma practice?" And then he said, "Okay, how should I do that?" Right? And then he said, "Go to the glorious mountain." Okay. So basically that is in India, in today's India, there is a place by the name of, in today's India, they name it after Nagarjuna. So it is in southern India, in the state of Telangana. Okay, Telangana state, southern India. And it's basically, the place is called Nagarjuna Konda, which means the hill of Nagarjuna. So back in the day, this hill is known as the hill of glory, okay, the glorious hill. And that hill, so he was prophesied. So that old woman who came to remind him of his duty was none other than the Tara Mother herself. So yeah, so then he decided to focus more on his own self sort of development, and then he started moving from northern India, Nalanda, to southern India, what is today known as the Telangana state, the Nagarjuna Konda area. He went there, and then he do meditation and all this thing. So Nagarjuna Konda is actually is an island. Even today, it's still an island. You have to cross. You have to take a boat ride for about 45 minutes to get there, and yeah, like that. So out of the many temples that he erected, he actually he did a lot of service to take care of, maintain the Bodh Gaya main temple. Okay, many of you are familiar with the main stupa of the Bodh Gaya, and it is widely believed that the very top of the Bodh Gaya temple, which has like a bell, up to a certain extent, it is kind of it goes up like that, and then there is a cut, right? And then on the very top, it looks like a bell, which is, you can call that the tip of the Bodh Gaya stupa. So the tip of the Bodh Gaya stupa, at that time, it is believed to be erected by Nagarjuna by using a lot of gold. So basically, he put a golden ornament on top of the Bodh Gaya stupa. Right now, it's also gold. I think that was largely contributed by the Thai people. I think which year I forgot, but it was the previous king. So basically, there is 100 kilogram of gold there today. Okay, today, I think 1 or 10 kilo from the people of Thailand, and 99 or 90 something kilo of gold contributed by the king of Thailand. Basically, 100 kilo of gold is on the tip of, is crowning the Bodh Gaya stupa right now. So it is said that in the past, during Nagarjuna's time, he did the same thing. And because as you know, as you are familiar, that he has alchemy power, right? He can change, he can transform metal into gold. So basically, he made this, and then he adorned the Bodh Gaya stupa, main stupa of the Bodh Gaya, with this golden tip. Now I come to the end of the story, okay, because it's going to be very long. So Nagarjuna basically, so that now he become known as Nagarjuna, etc., etc. Okay, there are several other versions like why he's called a Nagarjuna, because some say because he acquired this skill, the alchemy skill, from the Nagas. Uh, like they say he doesn't have the alchemy skill. I'm sorry, doesn't have the alchemy skill, but he acquired some gemstones from the Nagas, which made him uh, very wealthy, so that he can fund Nalanda, etc., etc. So basically, he made the Nagas. That's why he's called for the gemstones. That's why he's called Nagarjuna, etc. But there are variations of the story, but but the story that I told you is the authentic one. As you know, Nagarjuna, yeah. So then Nagarjuna became very popular, as I said earlier. So he has many students, many followers, powerful, commoner, elite, intellectual, this and that. So among many of his students, some there are many kings as well. So there are several kings. Okay, I told the story of one king earlier, but then there is this particular king called King Gautamiputra, and King Gautamiputra is so basically he's also a great king, etc. So then what happened was one day, King Gautamiputra's son, okay, anyway, so coming back to the point, King Gautamiputra is the one that Nagarjuna is writing this letter to. So this letter to a friend, the friend is the king. So basically he wrote this letter to the king saying how to rule wisely, how to live your life uh, uh, how to live your life consciously, how to rule the kingdom uh, kindly and wisely, etc. So basically, to prepare the king for this life and the next life, etc., to take care of the kingdom, etc. So, so King Gautamiputra is his very good close friend, and this letter was written before he came to the southern India. Okay, so he wrote this when he was in Nalanda itself. So he sent this letter to the king, advising him how to take care of the kingdom, etc. Like that.
Yeah.
So it is actually customary in those days for people who is regarded as a scholar. Scholars are usually someone who in India they call it pandita or pandit. In today's English, they use the term pandit for different reasons, for intellectual, etc. Anyway, so the pandita means someone who is excelled in 5 different skill sets. So you have to know art, you have to know spirituality, you have to know philosophy, you have to know economy. So basically, a pandita in those days, a scholar is someone who is well versed in 5 different skill sets of art. So it's not Nagarjuna is not just a master of philosophy, Buddhism or philosophy alone, but he is a master of a lot of things. So therefore, actually, Nagarjuna's discourses can be uh, categorized into 3 main segments. So one is known as the segment or the segment, the collection. It's called the collection of discourses, collection of public discourses. Okay, so one is known as collection of public discourses, one segment. Another segment is known as collection of debates or collection of arguments. So where he thwarts different ideologies. And then one is known as collection of wisdom or collection of logical understanding. So 3 segments are there. So he has written dozens of books, and those can be divided into 3 segments. Okay, public discourses, debates, and logical understanding. reasoning. So within the first segment, the collection of discourses, public discourses, there is the segment. There are subcategories of. Basically, Nagarjuna wrote on medicine. He's an expert in Ayurveda, or the herbal medicine, the ancient Indian medicine of So he is an expert on medicine. He's also expert on financing, because he's a very wealthy person. He knows alchemy, and then he uses the alchemic power for the betterment of the people. And then he also wrote on politics. So he's also a very good, you can say, political master, even though he didn't engage in dirty politics. But so he actually wrote a book on politics, or it is known as the. So there is this book called Art of War from China, very popular. Sun Tzu's Art of War, very very popular in in today's time. People use that in the corporate society, etc. But in India, there is one book known as The Art of Management by one Indian sort of Pandit Kautilya. Sometimes he's called Chanakya, very famous. Similar to that book, Nagarjuna also wrote a book on management. So this management is managing people, managing country, etc., everything. Actually, Nagarjuna's book on management is also available in Tibetan. It's not that popular for some reason. I don't know why, but if you utilize, there is this book called. It is book on politics, and politics can be very cunning. So Nagarjuna, even as a Buddhist teacher, when the time calls for such action, then he also he has very, you can say, very cunning plans on how to win politically as well. So he wrote a book on politics as well. His political books is very, 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 very well written. Actually, many Buddhist masters do not kind of cancel that book, saying Nagarjuna never wrote this book. But actually, it's not true. As a scholar, as a pandita, you are supposed to know all these things. Otherwise, you will not be renowned nor regarded as the Mahapandit, the great scholar of Nalanda monastery. So he actually wrote all that. There is also a book by him on eroticism as well. So anyway, these are all negated by most of the traditional scholars, but and then kind of even the books are, I think, burned as well for some reason. Anyway, but the Tibetan book on the Nagarjuna's book on management is still available. Yeah, it's a very good book. It's a very powerful book. If you read Sun Tzu's Art of War and inspired by that book, or Janakya's Art of Management, book of management, then Nagarjuna's book on managing life, it's also a magnificent book. Yeah, booklet. It's a booklet, small book. There's a very popular books on politics in the English-speaking world by an Italian writer called The Prince. By Machiavelli. So he's very famous, very, very famous. So actually, the Nagarjuna's book on politics can be likened to that, if not better. It's very effective as well. Yeah. Of course, in today's world, people regard Machiavelli as something bad, negative, sinister, etc. But anyway, good or bad is something that you decide to your own moral sort of compass. But you cannot deny the fact that it's a very effective book. Anyway, so coming to the point. So the person, King Gautamiputra. So his son was once, I told this story last time during our the Word of My Perfect Master earlier, but I will repeat anyway. So his son was given a magnificent suit, to wear by his mother. So his mother gave him a very beautiful suit, very beautiful robes or whatever you call them. And the prince was so happy. The son was so happy. And he just run around. Even the son is like not that young. Not that young. He's already in his youthful state. He run around and then the mother asked him to wear it, but he's not wearing it. He said, "I will wear it when I become the king." Then the mother didn't say anything, silent. Then he was he was also curious, and he asked the mother, "Why? Why are you silent on that?" The mother said, "Actually, you know what? Your father cannot die. Your father cannot die." The reason, because he actually made this sort of a ritualistic pact with his best friend, his good friend, Acharya Nagarjuna. So Acharya Nagarjuna, that they will not part each other. I mean, basically meaning that none of them will die before the other, something like that. So that means until Nagarjuna dies, your father cannot die, and then Nagarjuna already achieved the power of eternal life. So by receiving the Amitabha Buddha's empowerment and being fully entering the mandala of the Amitabha Buddha, so basically he will live forever, and so therefore that means your father will also never die, and that means you can never become the king. And the son was so sad. And the mother said, you know what? There's only one way out from this, because they made a pact that one will not die until the other dies. So why don't you go to Nagarjuna, because he's a bodhisattva? If you plead before him to die, as a bodhisattva, he will not disappoint you, and then he will listen to you. Then the prince asked him to die, and then he said, "You can take my life." The prince tried to stab and slice the head, whatever he tried to do, because of the spiritual power and all these things. He cannot get rid of that. But by ordinary mere weapons, he cannot be penetrated. He cannot be penetrated by ordinary weapons, this and that. So nothing works. And then Nagarjuna said, "Wait a minute." So he will check. He said he will see that. I mean, he actually already reached what we call the 8th level, 8 bhumi, or the 8th ground of 8th level of bodhisattva. So he said, "I will check if there are any negative karmic imprints, or the any negativities still remain there, any conscious or subconscious, non-conscious, that negativities that were remaining or not, he will check." So basically, when he checked, he analyzed through meditation. He found that any negativity that he has consciously committed are all purified. So there is one particular negativity, karmic debt, that he has not purified. It was actually committed non-consciously. So he didn't do it on purpose. So it so happened that in one of his lifetime, he was cutting grass, and then it was when he was cutting grass one by one, it became so difficult. So he used like a sickle, like a sword, to cut a bunch of grass at the same time, and doing so during that time, that sickle actually sliced the throat of one small insect, bug, and that negative karmic debt is still there. That karmic residue is still remaining, because it was done non-consciously, so he was not aware of that, and he had not purified that. So he said, he asked the prince to go get that grass. I forgot the name of that grass, maybe I'll find out later. So he told him to get that grass, and then use that grass to cut his throat. And the prince did that, and then he was able to slice the throat of Nagarjuna, and Nagarjuna breathed his last. He died then, like that, yeah. So the prince feared that because Nagarjuna has magical power, etc., so the head and the body will stick together once again. So the prince kicked Nagarjuna's head as hard as he could, and it is said that the head and the body parted so far away from each other. But for some reason, because of his prayers and aspiration and all this, the body and the head, even though they are separated, they are getting closer and closer by the year, like very, like small millimeter. And then at the time of the Maitreya, the future Buddha Maitreya's time, Nagarjuna's body and head will reunite, rejoin, and then Nagarjuna will continue his commitments like before. And anyway, that's how the story, usually the Nagarjuna story ends like this. And of course, because Nagarjuna sort of his head and head was taken, sliced away from his body, then he like died from a common from a worldly perspective. He had passed away, he died, and therefore his friend King Gautamaputra, or the son, the father of the prince's son, the prince or the king, also died, and the prince became the king of the land, etc. So that's how the story ends. So I will just now start the book. So there's some few verses missing in the English one. Anyway, the first sort of the preface, which is basically Gyagar Ketu. I will read in Tibetan. Gyagar Ketu Sur Leka. Gyagar Ketu means in the Indian language, Sur Leka. Ketu means in Tibetan language, Shebe Tingi. Which means paying homage, prostrations to the ever youthful Manjushri. Okay, so this is the first line. In the Sanskrit, the name of the book is Sur Lekha. Okay, Sur Lekha is in English we call it letter to a friend. So Sur is actually short for in Sanskrit for a friend. It's actually a shortened version of the. So Sur basically means a friend, but a very close friend, a friend that is like a brother. Sometimes you have a very close friend that you regard him as your brother. So brotherly friend. Okay, that is Sur, and then Lekha means writing. So the literal translation of the book would something like be something like written to a brotherly friend. That is the literal name of the book. Prostration or the homage to the Manjushri means Manjushri is the Buddha of wisdom. So this book provides a lot of rationality. Okay, when the book provides a lot of emotions like compassion, etc. Then maybe Avalokiteshvara. But here it's providing compassion, wisdom, discrimination, discrimination in the sense of being distinguishing good and bad, right and wrong, etc. So that's why like Manjushri's sword can directly cut between what is right, what is wrong, what is black, what is white, what is good, what is bad, like that. And very clear cut. So Manjushri, pay homage to the Manjushri. So I will conclude the class here, and then there are two questions in the box. So I will pick both of them. So the first question is, Rinpoche, is it true that because the wisdom in one syllable is A, okay, all the consonants of Tibetan's letter are accompanied by A, right? So because I told about the letter A, so is it because of that all the Tibetan letters are accompanied by A? That was the question. So I don't know exactly the reason why all the Tibetan letter has A, but actually it is considered that not only Tibetan, which is based on the Devanagari script or Devanagari script which come from India, but every letter, every word in the in the world, every spoken word that is being spoken in the world, every word that comes out of anybody's mouth actually is accompanied by a ah. So if you take out the ah, then you cannot pronounce anything. So for example, when I say anything, so when I stop my wording, when I phrase anything, last you hear the, like there's a small there, anything, right? Doctor. If I say doctor, at the end of the ra, there is a doctor ra. There's a. You can call that a small because if you listen very carefully, you will hear that. If you take out that without pronouncing the you can never pronounce ra. In order to pronounce ra, there has to be a Okay. Sometimes the is very strongly pronounced. Let's say, for example, like what is that? Let's say Ananda, right? Actually, Ananda is not the right word. Okay, what is an example? Very few. I mean, there are times when you have to pronounce the word very strongly. That time you know it is a. But most of the time, even though you don't see the being, you don't see the letter you don't hear the letter most of the time, but it's always there. Without the letter, without pronouncing you cannot pronounce any word. If I, for example, if I have to say life, when you end the word life, you cannot just stop at f. Even if you say f, there has to be a there. So everything ends with a. So therefore, in Indian language, in the Indian language system, they said that every letter has brought into life by the letter a. And so therefore, the a is the supreme letter. A is the ultimate letter. A is the supreme of all the letters. That is what in the Indic language system, it is said that the A is the mother of all letters or all words. Without A, nothing can be pronounced. So therefore, in the Indian language system, they use two types of A. Big A, they call it the short A and the long A. So, for example, like long A would be like Kalachakra. So when you say Kalachakra, when you loudly say the Ra, that is a long A. But when you say, as I said earlier, when you say things like a dog, when you say dog, the G ends with a small pronouncing of So without that for example, like in English, it's something very popular. They call it yoga. Actually, in the original Indian language, that is a small a. So the proper rendition of the letter yoga in like authentic Indian language is yog, not yoga. That a is a small a, not a big a. If it's a big a, it should be yoga. But it is a small a, therefore it's yog. But because when the first translators put the small a in the English language as a, and then a become a in English, and people sort of, like confused the small I and the big A. And now, I mean, of course, everybody knows it as yoga, but it's actually yog. So the same goes with Ananda. There is no Ananda in the Indian language. No Sanskrit. In the Sanskrit, it's Ananda. Anand has become Ananda. Yoga has become yoga, like that. So the main point is that big A and the concept of A ending in every letter is not just in Tibetan or Indian, but in every language. There is no word that you can pronounce without using the A. Either big A or small A has to be there. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this is a very good example. Nalanda and Ananda. So Ananda is wrong. It is Anand. There is no A because the A at the end of Ananda is a small A. So therefore it should be Anand, not Ananda. But the A at the end of Nalanda is the long A. So therefore it is not Nalanda, but Nalanda. Nalanda, Anand, like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
similarly, we usually have the Amitabha Buddha. There is a A. That A is actually a small A in the when you write in the original Sanskrit language. That A is a small A. So small A or short A we call it. The short A. So therefore, it should be Amitabh, not Amitabha. It's Amitabh Buddha,
Yeah.
not Amitabha Buddha, not like that.
Yeah.
So that's not like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amitabha, like there's a ba, but no a. Amitabha, not like that. Amitabh. Just
Amitabha.
close
Yeah.
your mouth. Amitabh. Amitabh.
Amitabha. Amitabha. Yeah.
Yeah. So make the a very short like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then um, so then another question is about last time I talked about the white letter A coming through, reciting this and that, and is it connected? Is it connected? Is it related to the Prajnaparamita principle? So in principle, yes, it's connected, but that was a totally different thing. The white R. So I think I was talking about the white R coming down and purifying Vajrasattva practice. So that is a different practice, but in principle, you can say it is part of the Prajnaparamita Sutra because it is part of the developing wisdom. Okay, so why we purify our negativity? Because we want to develop wisdom. So therefore, it is kind of related, but it's totally different sort of the practice are like different. It's not. Yeah, it is two different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhat related, but we are talking about two different things. Yeah. So going back to that small, short and long I think there are so many like errors that the Tibetans and the Vietnamese, the Chinese, non-Indians, everybody make mistake because I mean it's a language, right? So at the end of the day, I mean non-native English speaker cannot properly speak English, right? And non-native Vietnamese speaker, like if you're not a native Vietnamese, your Vietnamese gonna suck. If you're non-Tibetan, your Tibetan will gonna suck. And the same thing goes with all the non-Sanskrit speakers, Tibetans, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Japanese. We all suck at pronouncing the Sanskrit words. For like example, like Asura, the demigods, it's Asur, not Asura. Like Kala Chakra is also wrong. It's not Kala Chakra. Even though there is a there, Kala, that A is a small A. It's Kal Chakra. So Kal means time. Kala means black. So there's the idea that because Kala and Kal are similar in the sense that black consumes everything. Like in the universe, there's something called black hole that consumes everything. If you have black color and if you write black color over everything, it can consume everything black. And time is also like that. Time can consume everything. Everything that has in this world is consumed by time. So whatever is happening right now, it will be consumed by time and it will not be there in the future. So there is a similarity between Kala and Kal. Kal meaning time, Kala meaning black. But there are two different things. Even though there is similarity, as I explained now, but Kala and Kal are different. But everybody says Kala Chakra. Actually, it's not Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra would means black will. It's Kal Chakra, which means wheel of time, like that. Amitabha is not Amitabha, it's Amitabh. But when you say Tara, that is a long A, so it should be Tara, not Tar. But Amitabha should be Amitabh. Asura should be Asur, like that. So I was thinking, because Asura is wrong, misspelling, mispronunciation, then Atula is also mispronunciation because it should be Atul.
Atula. Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm just joking around. I'm just fooling around.
Yeah.
And anyway, you can see Atul is already mispronounced because you are trying to say Asur, but somehow you cannot say it and it become Atul, right? Atula. we Tibetans have the same problem with Vajra. We always say Benza. We don't say Vajra.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to apologize for the taking extended amount of time. But then, thank you so much for your attention and for tuning in. And oh yeah, I haven't explained why I choose this book. Anyway, maybe I can explain next time. So I was okay. So my main point is this: I'm thinking of going to a more extensive book later on, but before I do that, I would like to go through this small booklet, the letter to a friend, because letter to a friend deals with not only spiritual things but also worldly things, and we all live in this world, so we have a lot of things to take care of in the worldly life too. I mean, of course, we have to think about nirvana, afterlife, all these things, but we have this human life as well. You know, we have to live this human life. We have to live this to the fullest, most meaningful way. So therefore, how do we do that? And Nagarjuna tells to his best friend how to do it. Live with wisdom, live with conscience, live with compassion, kindness, and also, you know, don't get fooled by people. You know, all these things, everything is there. So it's a, yeah. So I thought, yeah, this we will do this book, and after it actually has 100 123 verses. Okay, so we will try to go 2, 3, I don't know, 4, 5 verses each week. Okay, then that'll be it. Yeah. And thank you so much once again, and Happy New Year. And dedication.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche.
Yeah. Mime tsewe janju semjo rinpo che ma ke pa nam ke gyuro che ke wa nyamba me bara kone kondo pe wara sho ke wa di nyodo da lama sangye trup gyurun chowa che kya malu ba ke ye sala ke wara sho janju semjo rinpo che ma ke pa nam ke gyuro che ke wa nyamba me bara yang kone kondo Pewara sho mingme zewe terjen jere se cheme kembe wangbo chambe yang. Next one. Mingme zewe terjen jere se cheme kembe wangbo chambe yang. Duwon malun jomze sangwen da kanjen kebe zogin zonga ba. Lobsan chabe shabla so wa te tembe ningbo zimbe penga shing namang do ju gun la changchu. Lobsan chugi kyamzu chogun do jenge choten tam so wa te.
Thank you, Zibochela.
Come on, Chiwang. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much,
Rinpoche.
Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Rinpoche.
Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay.